welcome. Quote Me on That podcast is an initiative of Quote This Woman Plus. Quote This Woman Plus, also referred to as QW Plus, is a gender justice organization that links women plus experts to the media. Quote Me on That introduces our Women Plus experts to the world. Hi and welcome. Today we're joined by Phelisa Sikwata, a poet, a curator, a community facilitator, and an LGBTI healer. And I am very, very excited to hear more about that. So whether through her work at Pivot Collective or her curation of the you're gonna have to help me here, inquiries or inquiries. How do you pronounce that? Showcase. You're gonna tell us all about that.
Yeah.
And her journey from toddler doctor dreams to published poet. Oh my word, this is big. So yeah, you have words that you use as a way to heal, to hold, and to honor the queer community. So thank you for that and for sharing this with us. This conversation is about what it means to create safe spaces. We hear that word all the time, but what does it really mean? To reclaim queer narratives and to build a culture of healing through storytelling and participatory action. So excited to have you here, Phelisa. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. So we're going to jump right into it. You started telling stories before you could even write them down. How did poetry become your chosen language of healing?
Yeah. Before the healing perspective, it was just wanting to be listened as a teenager. I actually started writing poems as a teenager.
Okay.
So around, I think I was in grade 9.
Okay.
My mother was turning 40, and I was a grade 9 learner. I didn't have money. So I was like, let me write her a poem after having read your Maya Angelou's, your Toni Morrison's, your Tony Stewart from here in Cape Town, Malika Ndlovu, and so forth. I was like, let me try this. And it was fun. I was like, I love what it does to me. And then I think a year later, I was on stage reciting one of my pieces. Yeah.
That is incredible. Incredible. Oh my word. Oh, I feel like I'm learning a whole new side of you, right? So that's beautiful. So thanks. Then moving on, what was CYPHER's impact on you, not just as a writer, but as a person? You can maybe tell us a little bit about CYPHER, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, just thinking back makes me want to tear up. So CYPHER is an acronym for Cape Youth Poetry Hub for Expression and Rhythm. So I joined CYPHER around, again, teenage years, around 18. I had just finished high school. I was working as a cashier, and I just was not in a good space. And I was told there are these classes, Saturday classes, where poets come together and they learn how to write, perform better their art, and so forth. And that's when I joined. There, I have to name them. We were taught by now Dr. Javier Perez, Sis Jen, I called her Sis Jen, Luanda Sindapi, I'm forgetting others, Tambo, Anele, and there are other group of lingua franca, and they had created this youth space for us. As a person, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be here if not for CYPHER.
Wow.
I wouldn't even have a voice. I wouldn't care as much as I care. I wouldn't be as curious as I am, as childlike as I am, as openly queer as I am, if not for CYPHER. CYPHER was the first space where I spoke and I was listened to. the first space where I was challenged to listen to others, the first space where I could travel, um, where I could think. That's where inquiries was actually birthed, was
Yeah.
because of CYPHER and the nourishment of these people who actually just valued words and knew words could improve lives and were like, let us hold your hands. And here I am today. Honestly, as I have said, I wouldn't be this Phelisa if not for CYPHER.
That is incredible. And so, yeah, absolutely grateful that they exist and that they've had this impact on your life and
Hmm.
probably on so many others, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
amazing. So your poetry is deeply embodied and often political. How do you use your
Mm.
writing to speak to and from queer communities?
Mm. I don't know the political part, to be honest, but I have heard people say the personal is political.
Correct?
Um, a lot of my poetry is me reflecting and navigating home life.
Hmm.
And of course, if you're going to speak about home, there are people there, and a lot of the things are political because we are in relation to each other and relation to self. How does it speak of? I don't think it speaks for the
Hmm.
queer community. It
Yeah.
speaks for me, who is part of the queer community. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
Um, what was the third part of that question?
There we go. So yeah, it was about the speaking. How do you use your writing to speak?
Mm,
Yeah, within
yeah.
the community.
Honestly, I might sound repetitive.
Hmm.
If not for poetry again, this Phelisa
Mm.
wouldn't be here. You know,
Yeah.
um, poetry helped me in the darkest times when it comes to mental health issues.
Yeah.
It helped me in the darkest times when queerness was like this looming threat of like being disowned at home.
Mm.
It like my loneliness,
Mhm.
it became like medicine in that loneliness, in that dark time. um in the awakening of wanting to facilitate healing spaces. It's
Mhm.
funny that you called me a healer when we started this
Yeah.
conversation. I do not identify as a healer, but I
Okay.
identify as a person who facilitates healing spaces.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of push and pull when it comes
Yeah.
to me actually standing in that, owning that
Yeah.
of like, hey everyone, I am a healer. I'm like, oof.
It's a bit much.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. Poetry is medicine in itself. It transforms lives. It listens. It speaks. It holds. It lets go. And as much as yes, I write them, but it's not my poetry. Sometimes it's like that whisper. You'll find some of my work. There are these repetitive lines.
Hmm.
And that's because one moment I'll be sleeping, the other I'll be like hearing a line
Oh, wow.
um being repeated. And
Yeah.
that's when like I'll pick up a journal and I would like write it down, and that's when it comes out of me, whatever I'm dealing
Yeah.
with.
Oh,
Mm,
wow. That is incredible. Also, quite a difficult space, right? I mean, I understand that you're saying poetry is like life, actually.
mm,
But
mm.
within that, there's this part that you have to hold this heaviness, I suppose. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Jeez. So next, you've been speaking about inquiries. Yeah, inquiries, is it
Mm-hmm.
right? Please tell us,
Inquiries.
is it inquiries? Oh, sorry,
Uh,
inquiries. Um, please explain why you created it. And
yeah.
yeah.
So inquiries, and I get to why people are like, is it inquiries or
Yeah,
inquiries? It was just a play of
of
words.
words. Okay.
I just wanted to create space where we could inquire in
Mm-hmm.
community, like ask the questions.
Yes.
But I wanted the community to be as vast and as open, and of course, that entails queerness.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, excuse me. So inquiries started off. So excuse me again. In 2017,
Yeah.
I was part of a top four uh, Cape Town representatives for Brave New Voices,
Mm-hmm.
which happened in San Francisco. Um, and that's when I was, did I apply or was I invited? I think I applied
No.
to be part of an all queer lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So every young person coming from South Africa, coming from the United States and so forth will come together, and we will create a showcase, each coming
Yeah.
with one poem to perform.
Okay.
And this was curiosity curiosity,
Okay.
because queer people like changing names and putting themselves in it. Um, yeah, so that happened. It was beautiful. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube,
Okay.
whether I like it or not. So I shared a piece there that again spoke to the silences of not being fully out at
Mm-hmm.
home. And then I came back, and these brothers that I named when we were beginning the Lingua Franca family were like,
Mm-hmm.
they had their own annual festival,
Yeah.
poetry festival, which was Naked Word Festival happening here in Cape Town. They were like, hey, we had never had an all queer lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Can you be the one to curate that? Um,
Wow.
as a I was like, what? But they saw how I had been already very intentional when it came to queer
Yeah.
visibility, queer wellness, and so forth. And so I invited, I think there were four of us. It was myself, it was Mbali Machis, it was Jason Jacobs. Who was the fourth? Yeah, I forget the fourth one. Um, and we created this showcase.
Yeah.
Me, of course, curating the space. And that's how it started.
Wow.
2018, it started. Um, I don't want to disclose my age, but it was in my early 20s. Um, and yeah, and it was powerful to me and
Mm.
to the people I had been journeying with in creating that space. We did it again in 2019 for Open Book Festival with other people. Um, and then there was silence. 2020 happened, there were no
Mm-hmm.
festivals. A lot of my personal life, it was like a mess. And then 2022, um, Pivots calls out uh, an internship. They created an internship.
Mm-hmm.
In this internship, it was very you got to learn how to start your own organization or initiative, and you got to learn how to sustain that, and
Mm-hmm.
also be in you had to create an offering for
Yeah.
the community per se.
Okay.
That was a year long. We ended it off with my first group of people. Um, that's when it was evolving from this showcase into being the writing space, into being an exhibition, into being a community of like people who believed in healing as queer people. Yeah, that's how it started, and then that's um, I think the internship was the impotence of what has become of inquiries. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Can you please tell us where are we going to find that clip? Because you just said on YouTube. So what is it we're looking for?
You can. Yeah, why did I mention this?
You know, I was thinking the minute you said it, you were hoping I'd forgotten. But that
So
stuck with me. I'm
it's
like, I need to see this.
so if you just search my name, Phelisa Sikwata, you
Mhm.
see everything there, but it's under is it Brave New Voices or
Mm.
something?
Okay.
Um, you would see I'm wearing a dress, I have an afro, um, yeah, and I'm a teeny baby.
I look forward to seeing that, and I hope that our listeners will do the same. I know you're like, oh, really? Why did I say
Oh,
this? But thank you for sharing.
hey, okay.
So you started touching on the Pivot Collective, and again, you were speaking about it centering healing in queer communities. So, what does a culture of healing mean to you? Because again, it's one of those things we hear all the time.
Okay, I'll make my answer two-part.
Okay.
Firstly, with Pivot Collective, it doesn't only focus on
Mm.
queer wellness. I
Yeah.
was just the person in there focusing on queer
Okay.
wellness. Some of us were focusing on indigenous knowledges.
Oh,
Some
beautiful.
of us were focusing on youth engagement in the townships, food security. So it's
Okay, so it's
vast.
vast. Okay.
It's vast, yeah. So your question, what does healing mean to me? Healing to me means sustaining oneself. It means sanity. It means presence, processing, um, evolving, caring for self and for community, and allowing others to care for you. It's seeing yourself and allowing others to see you.
Yeah.
Um, Healing is to create disturbance. That's my favorite. You must create your being alive, your existence should create a disturbance where there is dis-ease.
Mm. Wow.
It's transformation. It's a lot of things.
Thank you
It's
so
it
much. Sure.
yeah.
A lot for us to think about. I mean, everything
Mm,
you're saying, it is exactly that, but I think it's as you're speaking, I feel like very often we're not present, very often we are not intentional, and very often the opportunities for healing lie right there, but we do not see it. You know,
yeah.
we're so busy, we're so busy with everything. So I think that's what I'm taking from what you're saying. It's like, find out what it means to you and then start actually actioning those things.
Yeah.
Sure. It's a tough one. No, it's a tough one. Ah,
Yeah.
I need to breathe. Okay.
Me too. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Woo! You're saying big
Yeah.
things here, big things. But
I've
yeah.
learned from a lot of wonderful healers, people that identify and I see healing in them. I have a good friend who, just to name drop,
Mm,
Mama Likandlovu, who does a lot of healing work with when it comes to grief. I've read a lot of, oh, who's this? The NAP bishop. I
mhm,
forget her given name. The NAP bishop
mhm,
basically speaks about how sleep is essential.
mhm,
Her work, a lot of her methods in healing culture got to do with like rest and
mhm.
sleep,
Yeah.
and a lot of the presence. The When I named presence, she came to mind because she's saying we are not busy, we are just not present.
Mm,
We are not present. We and the systems. If we get in political,
mhm.
it's created that way.
Exactly.
Whether you are scrolling, whether you're working on 9 to 5,
Yeah.
whether you are overeating or undereat, all these things, they are created exactly to remove you from your presence.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
We had actually had this conversation recently, last week actually, because we were speaking about collective napping and just how
Mm.
powerful that is. But who is it that's allowing it, in the spaces? So very, very interesting
Mm.
things that exist, but it's just for people to tap in and to learn a bit more about. So as you're speaking, it's resonating. I'm going to move on now to the work that you do. So,
Yeah.
you're working as a facilitator and a researcher using storytelling methodologies. How do you reclaim knowledge production through community-based work?
That is a big question.
Mhm.
Because as much as I do regard myself a community researcher, I do facilitate spaces. I do, I do. Little space do I find to define things outside of course, now we are speaking almost outside of the inquiries
Mhm.
spaces. When it comes to the work that I do, and of course, I work for the Pivot Collective, a lot has to do with this externalness about it. So whether this is needed for this, it's external,
Mm.
and very little where I get to kind of go in as myself, right? But I am trying. I am trying. Just last week, we were facilitating a space for young people
Mhm.
within the social justice sector, and one of the people there noted, came to me and was like, "I note how." Building a community of care is really important to you, and all these little things you interweaving
Mhm.
in the while the major things are being collected, the data and so forth, there is this
Mhm.
softness that I get to sprinkle in a space where I'm in. um does that answer your question?
That is beautiful. It's difficult. I mean, I
Yeah.
can hear even how difficult it is to explain.
Mm.
But at least you have this vision of how you are doing it even if it feels like it's a small way. But I think it is
Yeah.
important because we
And
can
also,
get carried away by the data and the whatever else is needed. Yeah. Yeah.
and a lot of that space, I come in as a learner. So it's not only that the space is asking for external stuff from me. I also step into the space very much as a junior, lack of a better term, a junior worker in that space, because I'm not academic, but my superiors are.
Mhm.
Um, and I am coming from a point of art and healing work.
Yeah.
So of course, you're gonna see that difference
Yeah.
and so forth. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And the awareness is also something that that I draw out of it. So it's amazing that you are aware of what it is you bring.
Yeah.
And I think that that is an important thing. Whoever's listening, sometimes you show up in a space and you don't have that intentionality or that thought process, or take yourself away from it just to observe, to be able to know where it's going. So yeah, well done. We are going to move on to your Voices Fellowship. So you are part of
Yay.
the QW Plus Voices Fellowship. How has the platform supported your journey as a poet, healer, or actually you said you facilitate healing and an advocate?
Oh man. Um, Shout out to my mentor. She didn't give me consent to name her, so
Okay.
I'll only name her first name, Zakia. Um, with her, I've noted that it's hard to work with Phelisa because Phelisa has a certain way of working, and a lot. I am doing a lot of things, so time sometimes can be trouble. So I just want to know that. How did she support me? It was so the last time Inquiries did any offering was in 2023.
Okay.
So I was coming into the fellowship from a point of I want to evolve. I want to do more. And in this evolution of this initiative, I also want to mobilize a new audience. I want to mobilize the resources that I needed. I want to learn new ways in order for this initiative to be better.
Yeah.
That was my intention in applying and getting in. And so I say this, our work was a lot around the proposal writing.
Yeah.
So with her, it was a matter of how do we evolve with a project while still maintaining its core ways of doing and its core
Yeah.
pillars of how it shows up for the people it shows up
Yeah.
for? How the support was there um, in her working with me, coming from a point of academia, working with me when it comes to the research, writing the way that, lack of a better term, funders are
Mhm.
more attracted to.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of that work.
Wow.
Another point of support, it was actually you started this. I created this to you. It was how care is important when gathering people who have different ways of working, who have different interests, different yeah, just the vastness in us. How care is important in ensuring that people constantly show up for their work.
Yeah.
That was like, for me, it still touches me. That yes, there is parallels in how you do your work and how I do your work,
Yeah.
but also seeing you doing the things that I believe in was validation in how I do things. Um, and then the third part was just being in community. Sometimes I wouldn't, we had every Thursday
Mhm.
evening, we had learning circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I couldn't be
Yeah.
there. But the moment I see my phone, just seeing those messages, I'll be inspired
Yeah.
to show up for the work. Because for me, I still have this thing of inquiries is something that I started, but I won't be the one to finish it, or
Yeah.
I won't be the one to hold it forever.
Oh,
Um,
Howard.
so I know that the work needs to be there, needs to be done, the foundation parts. I have to show up for those foundation parts so much so that the next person to hold it,
Yeah.
or the other organizations, other LGBTQI plus initiatives to actually adopt the methods that are used, they actually get something solid.
Yeah. That is
So
amazing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
putting one brick at a time, and when someone else comes along, they can add a few bricks there. So I love that. I love that.
yeah,
I also
yeah,
believe in not creating something that is solely mine, that hopefully, others come along and they can add their flavor and it grows in that way. It's a beautiful vision, right?
yeah.
It's a
And
beautiful vision.
also, it's like a ripple effect of healing work. That it starts here, it does this, it does this, it
Yeah.
does this, and one day, one of my favorite things uh, to escape into is me in my later years in life, just sitting and doing nothing and getting a text or reading something and seeing inquiries
Yeah.
facilitated by this
Amazing.
person. You know, Like I want, I forget her last name, Julia, the author of The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
I want to be Julia. Do you know? Julia is living the life that I want. The
Wow.
Artist's Way, I've gone through the process of the Artist's Way. I don't even think Julia in the 70s imagined that a black kid uh, from the townships of Cape Town will be going through the Artist's Way to mark her 25 years of being alive, you know? I want inquiries to be that.
Incredible. Incredible. And I love the vision for you. I love it. It's coming. Okay, we are nearing the end. I've got two more questions for you. So the
All
one
right.
is, what do you want the media, policymakers, and like you just said, funders to understand about working with the queer community?
Yeah. Firstly, just in working with the community, it is messy. It needs sustaining. By messy, I mean it is not as what you read on the proposal.
Mm.
Allow, now I'm speaking to the funders.
Yes.
When you are funding such a project, understand that evolution can be within in one day because these spaces are co-created, and allow people to be that, allow that to be. In terms of the queer community, one thing this community is their work, I would imagine it in like someone walking towards and away from something. They are walking to away from something that does not do anything well for anyone, whether
Yeah.
you're queer or not. And they are working towards a more diverse understanding, a more created understanding, a more colorful, rich, nourishing, um, imaginative way of living that is good for everyone.
Yeah.
I wish everyone could understand that about the queer community. That
Yeah.
if you are homophobe and you're fighting queer narratives or queer theories within your workspace or within your household or within your neighborhood, you are fighting against yourself, against your own wellness.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the answer is queerness. And I'm not saying everyone be identify, but you'll see someone who's an ally, their life changes.
Absolutely.
Because there's something about queerness, whether it's in text, whether it's in music, art, there's something there that is encompassing of a world that we all need.
Wow. Thank you so much for that response. Your responses have been so powerful, like seriously. The last one, what message would you leave for any, I want to say young, queer, creative, but it could be anyone dreaming of visibility and healing?
Start with yourself. Offer that visibility to yourself. And I understand that could be broad, that could be not thinking from a space of that the world is unsafe. Create those internal worlds within yourself first.
Oh,
You want queerness, visibility, be visible, be visibly queer to yourself first. Start there, and then be curious. And the brilliant thing about this day and age is that everything's on our phones, and be curious. Our libraries, I remember the first queer book I read was from the library. It's there. Whether it's in the corner, look for it. Be active, be proactive in seeing yourself on text, on I was before we started this chat, I was just reflecting of like when I was a closeted 14-year-old on how much there was a lot of television there, a lot of talk shows, and I was listening to those queer stories, whether it was on radio, on television. For me, I yearned for it, I looked for it, I found it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, start with yourself and then move outwards and
And
find your tribe. We are
mm,
here.
very
Yeah, find
important,
your
very
people.
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So that was Phelisa Sikwata reminding us that resistance is not always loud. Sometimes it's a poem, it's a circle, or it's the quiet bravery of holding space. So if Pelisa's story has moved you, please share it, please follow. Like we've said it in so many segments, follow these amazing, amazing human beings. And because every voice we uplift changes the landscape, right? So make sure that we all are amplifying voices here. Until next time, keep creating, keep healing, and always quote Women Plus. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Pelisa.
you.